Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I am building the house from the show Jane the Virgin, where the main characters live. If you haven't watched this show, I strongly recommend you to do so. I think there is about 5 seasons, which is on Netflix, and that the last season is about to come out. I'm not really sure, but I think so. Um, but this house is where the main character Jane is living with her mother and also her grandmother. So there is going to be 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom in this house. And for the backyard, you can't really see anything of it in the show. However, the front porch is shown in almost every episode where Jane, her mother, and her grandmother usually sits on a bench to just talk about um, different things that happens in the show. And it's not really a bench, it's more of a bench swing, which we don't have in the Sims. So I decided to just put a regular one. And you can see me working on the porch right now. It was kind of difficult to know how big I needed to make the house look. And also, when you try to build a real house in The Sims, it's limited to what you can do. Not everything will be similar uh, to the real house. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks really similar. Um, the hardest room to make was probably the grandmother's room because you don't really see it that often. Um, and also the um, room that the mother has was kind of difficult, but I mean, either way, it doesn't. Um, I think it's hard to make it look exactly the same. However, I was really happy to see that there was not a lot of pictures of the house, but I did watch through the show to see if I could find like some references that I could use. But there was some pictures on Google which I could use. Uh, but again, I didn't copy it exactly the same because it is the same, so you are limited. And also, I did the roofing off camera because I was struggling a little bit with it since that doesn't really show either on either the show or on pictures. So here I'm just working on kind of like a pathway. You do see in the show when they sit on the porch that it's a lot of trees and bushes and flowers and such. So I decided to go for that. But here is the backyard, and it's very simple. And yeah, I didn't use so much time decorating it, or yeah, didn't spend so much time with it at all actually. But I used a lot of time decorating the house, trying to make every little detail the same as in the show. Um, so I think you will see the similarities at least if you have watched the show. But just a quick disclaimer, I'm not going to talk about the series in this speed build because I don't want to spoil it if you want to watch it. But I do recommend you watch it because it is a very good show. And now we're starting off with the interior, and it's difficult to find exactly the same furniture as they have in the show, obviously. But one thing I noticed is that they do change up the furniture in the show. But I mean, that's kind of realistic as well. You don't have the same like decorations in the house all the time. But I was a little bit, um, I didn't really know what to put in, like on the walls, because they do change up the decorations. So I decided to put the decorations um, which is most similar in the game. Like for instance, um, by the front door, there is a picture of some pears, which we also have in The Sims. So I decided to put that there. However, later in the show, they have jackets and coats hanging by the front door. So I could also do that, but yeah, I just decided to put the pear picture. And also the sizing of the rooms were so difficult to make, because in the show it's difficult to see exactly how big the house is. But I think I made it somewhat similar, um, and I think it looks I think it looks good. I'm quite happy with this build, to be honest. But another thing is the curtains. The curtains in The Sims are really limited, I feel like. We don't have so many options. And also, the fireplace in the show is much bigger. But again, we are limited. So, yeah, we are almost done with the living room. And in this corner, there was a green and a red chair, which I'm going to um, replace soon with these green chairs. And on this wall, it originally was a red cabinet, but we don't have that in The Sims. Or we have one, but the look of it just didn't feel right. And also, they have this small TV in the show where they watch telenovelas. And I thought it was important to make at least that nook really similar to the show, because they do spend a lot of time um, filming in that direction. So we're almost done with the living room, and I did put a lot of clutter around the house because especially on the kitchen, it is really messy. They have a lot of kitchen stuff on the benches, but I quite enjoyed doing that, making a messy house, and I actually really enjoyed following like the floor plan and such from a house from a TV series, especially a TV series I watched for a while now. And you kind of go out of your comfort zone, because I would never use so much red, for instance, in a house, and also not so much traditional furnishing. So I really enjoyed getting out of my usual building style and just trying something new. And I think the kitchen that I made in The Sims looks quite close to the kitchen in the show. And also, there is so many doors in this house. I never thought about it until I was making the house in The Sims. There is a door there on the kitchen, in the kitchen, and there's a door, two doors actually, by the dining table, and then there are two doors in the living room. And I was building this in Oasis Springs, so does it make sense to have so many doors? Maybe. Because in the other buildings in Oasis Springs, there are like very open to the outside, so I guess it's fine. Um, but again, I would never put so many doors if I wasn't looking at a reference, if I was just building my own style. So I thought it was quite fun. But here I'm just cluttering up the benches, and I haven't play tested this build, so I hope everything works. I do think so because there are some kitchen benches that you can use, I think. But if it doesn't, it's easy to just delete the clutter items and you are good to go. So I was also struggling with the floor on the kitchen. I wasn't quite sure which pattern they had in the show, but it's not the worst if it doesn't match the floor in the show. It's just I wanted it to look as close as possible. Um, and I think I managed to do so. And another thing that I thought was a little bit difficult was to make the hallway to the bedrooms look really close to the show. I think it's a little bit bigger. Um, However, it's not the biggest issue. And also the dining table is more like an oval shape, oval shape. Um, but again, we don't have that in The Sims. So, and I think it's so cute because they have like family pictures on the wall. Not this wall, but the other wall. But again, I couldn't really do that. I could have made a sim look like Jane the Virgin and also the mother and grandmother, taking a picture and put it on the wall. But for me, that's too much work. So I decided to just put these pictures, which is all already in the game. But here I watched at another reference picture and I saw that there was a green and a red chair instead, and also a side table by the window. So I just changed that up to look it more similar to the other pictures. Because I did not watch every episode because I already did that, but I did scroll through, not scroll through, but I either way watched some of the clips from the show where they had a good angle at different rooms, and each time I was like, oh, I need to add that instead. But it took a lot of time just to go back um, and and change it up. But here I did something I will do in other kind of builds as well because I thought it looked really cool. Um, so I just put a bookshelf and something that looks like not really a walk-in wardrobe, but a bigger wardrobe. Um, so I thought that was kind of cool. And I also did this in the mother's room um, because it's also like that in her room in the show. And I realized this room is really blue, blue and white, and those are my favorite colors. So I really enjoyed making this room. One thing that I really wanted to recreate from the show, again, if you haven't watched it, basically Jane the Virgin is a girl who wants to save herself for marriage because her grandmother is really religious, and she gave Jane a flower and made her destroy it or take it in her palm and squeeze it. And then her grandmother made Jane um, to try and make it look the same as before. And this flower Jane has put in a frame and put over her bed. And it kind of is like a symbol in this show. I really wanted to try and recreate it, but I decided it would take a lot of time, so I just put another picture on the wall, which I thought was really nice, and it kind of has the same aesthetic as the flower. And I really enjoyed making like this writer's nook as well. And one thing I noticed with this room is that her Jane has a lot of like oh, what's it called in English? Uh, she has a lot of not shelves, storage units. Or is it called that? I think so. I'm just gonna call it that. But again, that's quite realistic. Uh, Again, if I built this out of my own imagination, I wouldn't have thought about doing so. And another thing is the wallpapers in the house. It was really difficult to recreate because some of the wallpapers would have been perfect, but they have these weird I don't know moldings. I think it's called moldings. But I'm going to stop complaining or talking about what I thought was difficult about this build because I did really enjoy making it, and I spent a lot of time as well just studying pictures, and yeah, I really enjoyed building this house. And if I would do something different, I think I would have made the backyard a little bit more interesting. However, again, um, it's not really a part of the show, so to me, it's not that important. But as a Sims house and building, I would probably change it up a little bit. But anyways, I'm happy with it. And for this room is actually Jane's mother's room. In the show, she is called Xiomara, I think you say it. And the grandmother is called Alba. And I do think Jane moves out of the house first. Spoilers. And that Xiomara, um, I don't know, she suddenly doesn't live in the house anymore. I'm a little bit confused, but either way, they they spend a lot of time in this house. So Xiomara is working as a dance teacher, and she usually has her lessons in this house, which maybe can be the reason why the furnishing and decorations change, because she moves all the furniture away from the living room when they have their lessons, dancing lessons. And here I was a little bit unsure because the room seemed a little bit smaller, so I just changed it up a little bit. And this is going to be the grandmother's room. And again, there wasn't so much scenes in the show where they show this bedroom. So I kind of thought about, okay, she's a Christian old woman. She has a lot of like jewelry, I can't say it, boxes with earrings and such. and a lot of pictures. It's very brown looking, this room, not really much color. Like Xiomara's room is really red, and Jane's room is very blue. So compared compared to those rooms, this is quite boring. But I mean, I like it. It has its own charm. I also think that this is the only house from a TV show that I actually could recreate, because really many, I can't say that. Many TV shows has houses where they usually just show one room, and it makes it really difficult to see like the whole floor plan and such. The Friends house, I think many have uploaded that to the gallery, and not the Friends house, but the apartment. And I think that's a really nice apartment as well. But here we are on the front porch, and they do spend a lot of time on this porch in the TV show. So I really wanted it to be bright and cozy and, yeah, just pretty. And I also start with the backyard. Um, but again, it's not really much to see. I think I just put like a table and some couches, and I think I added a kids pool, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but again, it is a Sims build, so I didn't want to leave it empty either. Um, so here you have the backyard, and it was kind of like an awkward uh, place to furnish. Um, so I just put some flower decoration table and just some gardening clutter items. Um, yeah, I did add the kid pool and also some plant boxes. So yeah, I think this is the last part of the build, and that the screenshot is coming up soon. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and let me know, have you watched this show? I really want to know, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.